Are you tired of looking at a huge green lilac bush that only gives you 3 or 4 sad little flowers every spring? What if I told you there is a hidden trigger you can pull right now to completely change that? Welcome to the video. Today we are talking about the ultimate spring secret that will literally bury you in fragrant blossoms. I am going to show you how to get a massive 80 floral panicles on a single bush. Yes, 80! Most people believe that some lilacs are just bad bloomers, but that is completely false. The truth is, your bush is holding back on purpose. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to do this spring to force an absolute explosion of colour. Do you think a plant can be trained to bloom 10 times more than it usually does? Let me know in the comments right now if you agree or disagree, because we are about to break all the rules of traditional gardening. To understand how to get these massive blooms, we have to look back at where lilacs come from. Originally, these tough, woody shrubs grew wild in the rocky hills of Eastern Europe and Asia. They survived harsh winters and baking summers without any human help. Back in the day, farmers brought them over to plant near their farmhouses because the amazing sweet scent would hide the smells of the farm. But here is the problem. In the wild, a lilac's only goal is to survive and make seeds. It does not care about looking pretty for your front yard. If left alone, it will just grow a massive tangle of wild wood and leaves to catch sunlight. Over the centuries, master gardeners realised that to get those huge perfume-quality flowers, you have to trick the plant. You have to step in during the crucial early weeks of spring and interrupt its natural lazy growth cycle. This historical secret of interrupting the wild growth is exactly what we are going to apply to your garden today. Let us start with the biggest lie in the gardening world. Have you ever heard someone say that you can just plant a lilac bush, walk away, and let nature do the rest? That is a total myth. Many people believe that because these plants are tough, they do not need any help to produce those huge, beautiful purple and white flowers. But if you just leave them alone, year after year, the bush will grow taller and taller, and the flowers will stay at the very top, where you cannot even see or smell them. The branches get thick, the leaves get crowded, and suddenly you are only getting 5 or 6 sad little flower clusters. To get those 80 massive panicles, you have to break this lazy gardening habit. Think of your plant like a high-performance athlete. It needs coaching, a good diet, and the right environment to perform at its best. If you ignore it, it gets lazy. So, the very first thing you need to change is your mindset. You are in control of the spring bloom. By taking action early, before the leaves even fully open, you are sending a wake-up call to the roots. You are telling the plant that it is time to put all its energy into making flowers, not just useless wood. Let us dive into the exact physical steps you need to take right now to make this happen. The next vital step is all about perfect timing. The exact moment you step out into your garden matters more than you think. You cannot wait until the weather is perfectly warm and you are walking around in a t-shirt. By then, it is already too late. The magic window opens in early spring, right after the hardest freezes have passed, but before the green leaves completely unroll. You want to look for the moment when the snow has just melted and the ground is starting to thaw. The buds on the branches should look swollen and tight, almost like little green beads ready to burst. If you wait until the bush is fully covered in bright green leaves, the plant has already spent half of its energy for the season. It has committed to growing foliage instead of flowers. So, you need to put on your jacket, grab your gloves, and get out there while the air is still crisp. This early intervention is the first physical shock the plant needs. It stops the default leaf growing process and forces the plant to rethink its strategy. Timing is everything. Catching the plant while it is just waking up from winter sleep is the foundation of getting those 80 beautiful blooms. Now let us get up close and personal with the branches. You need to become a bud detective. If you look closely at the tips of the branches in early spring, you will notice that not all buds look the same. This is a secret that most beginners completely miss. There are 2 different types of buds on your lilac. Some buds are very skinny, pointy, and sit close to the stem. Those are leaf buds. They will only ever give you green foliage, but then you will see other buds. These are fat, round, and look almost like tiny pine cones. Those are the prize. Those are your flower buds. The trick to getting 80 blooms is knowing how to spot them. When you are looking at your bush, you want to identify where the highest concentration of these fat flower buds is located. This visual inspection tells you where the plant is trying to push its floral energy. If you see a branch that only has tiny, skinny leaf buds all the way down, that branch is not going to help your flower show. Understanding this difference allows you to make smart decisions later on. You are no longer just guessing. You are reading the plant's secret language. Before we make a single cut or change to the plant, we have to talk about your tools. This is where a lot of well-meaning gardeners accidentally ruin their chances of a massive bloom. There is a common myth that any old pair of scissors from the kitchen drawer or rusty shears from the garage will do the job. This is absolutely false. Using dull, dirty tools is like doing surgery with a butter knife. You will crush the plant tissue instead of making a clean cut. Crushed stems cannot heal properly, and they become a magnet for disease and fungus. To get 80 blooms, your plant needs to be perfectly healthy. So, you must use a sharp pair of bypass pruners. Bypass pruners work like scissors where two blades glide past each other, giving a razor-sharp cut. But sharp is not enough. You must clean them. Take a cotton ball with some rubbing alcohol and wipe down the blades before you touch your lilac. If you pruned a sick rose bush last week and used the same tool on your lilac today, you will transfer that sickness directly into your bush. Clean, sharp tools ensure the plant heals in days, keeping all its energy focused on blooming. The first actual physical action you must take is called sanitary pruning. This sounds clinical, but it is actually very simple. You are going to remove anything that is dead, damaged, or diseased. Over the harsh winter, heavy snow and ice storms inevitably break some small branches. Other branches might have just naturally died off. Leaving this dead wood on the bush is a massive mistake. Dead wood is basically a free luxury hotel for boring insects and harmful fungi. As soon as the spring rains hit, that dead wood gets soggy and starts to rot, spreading rot down into the healthy parts of the plant. How do you know if a branch is truly dead? Do the simple scratch test. Take your fingernail and lightly scratch the bark of a suspicious branch. If you see bright green underneath, it is alive. If it is brown, hard, and dry, it is dead. Cut those dead branches all the way back to healthy wood. By clearing out the graveyard of dead twigs, you instantly improve the health of the entire bush. The plant no longer wastes chemical signals trying to heal dead tissue, and that saved energy goes straight into powering your 80 flower clusters. Now we must address the hidden vampires in your garden. I am talking about root suckers. If you look down at the base of your lilac bush, right where the main trunk meets the soil, you will probably see a bunch of tiny new lilac plants shooting straight up out of the dirt. Many people think these look cute. They think, oh look, my plant is having babies, maybe my bush will get wider and bigger. This is a dangerous trap. These suckers are not your friends. They are aggressive energy thieves. The root system of your lilac has a limited amount of water and nutrients it can pull from the earth. Every single sucker that grows is stealing a portion of that food. Instead of sending that precious energy up the main trunk to create big, beautiful flower clusters, the plant is wasting it on growing these useless little twigs at the bottom. If you want 80 blooms on the top, you cannot afford to feed 50 suckers at the bottom. Recognizing that these cute little green shoots are actually destroying your chances of a great bloom is a major turning point in spring garden care. So, how do we deal with these vampires? The instinct is to just grab your pruners and snip them off right at the grass line, or worse, people just run over them with the lawnmower. Do not do this. Snipping a sucker at the surface actually acts like a pruning cut. It encourages the root to split and grow 2 or 3 new suckers in the exact same spot next week. You will just make the problem worse. The correct way to remove root suckers requires getting a little dirty. You need to take a small hand trowel and dig down into the dirt right where the sucker is growing. Follow the little shoot all the way down until you find where it attaches to the main thick root of the mother plant. Once you find that connection point, use your sharp pruners to cut it off completely flush with the main root. Or, even better, simply grab it firmly and rip it off with a sharp downward pull. Ripping it actually damages the growing cells at the base, making it much harder for a new sucker to form there. By eliminating the thieves at their source, you redirect a massive surge of water and food straight up to your flower buds. Let us look up at the sky for our next crucial step. Sunlight is the fuel that powers the flower-making factory inside your plant. There is a strict rule for lilacs. They demand at least 6 full hours of direct, blazing sunlight every single day to bloom properly. Here is the trap many people fall into. You planted your bush 5 years ago in a perfectly sunny spot, but over those 5 years, the oak tree next door grew 20 feet taller. The pine tree across the yard spread its branches. Suddenly, your perfectly sunny spot is in the shade for most of the afternoon. In the early spring, before all the trees have their leaves, it is hard to notice this new shade. You must assess the sunlight situation now. Look at the path of the sun. Is your lilac being blocked? If it is living in the shadows, it will stretch its branches out looking for light, becoming thin and weak. It will produce leaves, but it simply will not have the solar power to produce 80 heavy flower clusters. If you find your plant is newly shaded, you might need to trim back branches from surrounding trees to open up the canopy and let the sun hit your lilac directly. The next step requires you to look deep inside the centre of your bush. This is where we apply the famous rule of the flying bird. An old master gardener once said that a perfectly pruned lilac should be open enough in the centre that a small bird could fly straight through it without hitting a branch. Why is this so important? Because a dense, crowded centre is a death sentence for flowers. When branches grow inward and cross over each other, they block sunlight from reaching the middle of the plant. Even worse, they block the wind. Without proper air circulation, the morning dew stays trapped on the leaves all day long. This damp, dark environment is the perfect breeding ground for powdery mildew, a white fungus that covers the leaves and weakens the plant. You need to take your sharp pruners and cut out the branches that are growing backwards toward the middle of the trunk. Remove branches that are rubbing against each other. By opening up the centre, you allow the spring breezes to blow right through, keeping the plant dry, healthy, and perfectly primed to support dozens of massive blooms. Now we arrive at one of the most common and devastating mistakes people make in the spring. Let us talk about fertilizer. As soon as the weather warms up, everyone rushes out to spread lawn fertilizer to get their grass green. Often, they take a few handfuls of that high nitrogen lawn food and throw it around the base of their lilac bush, thinking they are helping. This is the exact opposite of what you should do. Nitrogen is the chemical element that tells a plant to grow bright green leaves and long stems. If you dump heavy nitrogen on your plant in the spring, it will listen to that chemical signal. It will cancel its flower-making plans and go absolutely crazy growing leaves. You will end up with the greenest, bushiest, most beautiful leafy shrub on the block, but you will not get a single flower. It is a classic myth that more general fertilizer equals a healthier blooming plant. You must keep your high nitrogen lawn food far away from the root zone of your flowering shrubs. Protecting your plant from the wrong nutrients is just as important as giving it the right ones. If nitrogen is the enemy of the spring bloom, what is the hero? The magic secret ingredient you need right now is phosphorus. Phosphorus is the element in the soil that specifically triggers root development and, most importantly, explosive flower production. If you want 80 huge, heavy panicles of flowers, your plant needs a massive dose of phosphorus, just as it is waking up from winter. You can provide this by using a fertilizer where the middle number on the bag is much higher than the others. For example, a bag labelled 5105 is perfect. But if you want to go organic, the absolute best secret weapon is bone meal. Bone meal is a natural powder made from finely crushed animal bones, and it is incredibly rich in slow-release phosphorus. By working a few cups of bone meal lightly into the soil around the drip line of your bush in early spring, You're providing the exact fuel the plant needs to build those fat flower buds we talked about earlier. This is the nutritional secret that separates the sparse, disappointing bushes from the ones that look like a purple cloud. Even if you provide the perfect amount of phosphorus, your plant might still refuse to bloom. Why? Because of the invisible chemistry of your dirt. Let us talk about soil's pH. Lilacs are very particular about their soil chemistry. They absolutely hate acidic soil. If you live in an area where pine trees grow wild, or where the soil is naturally sour and acidic, your plant is secretly suffering. When the soil is too acidic, the roots actually lock up. They become physically unable to absorb the phosphorus you just gave them. It is like putting a feast in front of someone, but taping their mouth shut. To unlock the roots, you need to sweeten the soil. You need to make it more alkaline. The old school's foolproof way to do this is by using wood ash. If you have a fireplace or a fire pit, save the white, powdery ash from your winter fires. Wood ash is highly alkaline and packed with potassium. It is the perfect natural remedy to neutralize acidic soil. This is a forgotten trick from our grandparents' generation, but it works better than almost anything you can buy in a plastic bottle. Applying the wood ash correctly is just as important as having it. You cannot just take a bucket of ash and dump it directly onto the main trunk. That will burn the bark and damage the plant. You have to understand how roots work. The active, absorbing roots are not right next to the trunk. They are spread out in a circle, right underneath the outer edges of the leafy branches. This circle is called the drip line. Think of it like an umbrella. Where the water drips off the edge of the umbrella is where the thirsty roots are waiting. You want to take a small scoop of your wood ash and sprinkle it in a wide ring along this invisible drip line. Do this right before a gentle spring rain is predicted. The soft rain will slowly dissolve the ash, carrying the sweetening alkaline minerals down into the soil precisely where the tiny feeder roots can drink it up. This gradual, targeted adjustment of the soil chemistry unlocks the trapped nutrients. Suddenly, the plant can eat the phosphorus again, and the path to your 80 blooms is cleared. Let us tackle the issue of spring watering. When the snow melts and the spring showers begin, the ground can become extremely wet. Many people think that because the plant is waking up and growing, it needs to be watered every single day with the garden hose. This is a fatal error. While lilacs do need moisture to push out big flowers, their roots absolutely despise sitting in heavy mud. Roots need oxygen just as much as they need water. If the soil is constantly saturated, it suffocates the roots. They literally drown, turn black, and begin to rot. When the root system is rotting, the plant panics. It drops its flower buds to conserve energy and tries to save itself. In the early spring, you should almost never need to use a hose. The natural moisture in the thawing ground and the seasonal rains are usually more than enough. The rule of thumb is to stick your finger about 2 inches into the dirt. If it feels cool and slightly damp, walk away. Do not water. By forcing the plant to search for water slightly, you encourage a stronger, deeper root system that can support the massive weight of 80 flower clusters. Mulching is another area where well-intentioned gardeners accidentally commit plant murder. In the spring, it is a great idea to put down a layer of fresh mulch to keep weeds away and hold in some moisture. But there is a very specific technique you must use. Have you ever seen a tree where the mulch is piled high up against the trunk, looking like a brown volcano? That is called volcano mulching, and it is a disaster. When wet mulch is piled against the woody bark of the lilac trunk, it traps moisture against a part of the plant that is meant to stay dry. This causes the bark to rot, creating an open wound for insects and diseases to enter. It essentially chokes the plant to death. The secret to proper spring mulching is the donut method. You want to spread a 2-inch layer of organic mulch out over the root zone, but you must leave a bare circle of dirt right around the trunk. The mulch should look like a flat donut with the main trunk safely in the empty centre. This protects the roots, prevents the weeds, and keeps the trunk dry and healthy, ensuring no energy is lost, fighting off bark rot. As your plant wakes up and those beautiful fat buds start to swell, you enter the danger zone. Early spring weather is notoriously tricky. You might have a week of beautiful, sunny, warm days, and your plant thinks it is time to party. The buds begin to open, exposing the delicate, soft tissue of the baby flowers inside. But then, disaster strikes. The weather report calls for a sudden, late spring frost, a deep freeze overnight. If those soft, swollen buds get frozen, they will turn black, crisp up, and die. Your chance for 80 blooms is wiped out in a single night. You must become a weather watcher. Keep an eye on your local forecast. If you see a hard freeze coming, you have to act fast to protect the investment you have made. Take an old bedsheet or a light canvas tarp and gently drape it over the entire bush before the sun goes down. This acts like a little tent, trapping the heat from the earth inside and keeping the frost off the buds. Make sure to take the sheet off the next morning as soon as the sun comes up so the plant can breathe. This one simple act can save your entire spring display. If you have an older bush that has been neglected for years, you might need to use the ultimate secret weapon. It is called rejuvenation pruning, and it relies on the magic 1/3 rule. Over time, the main trunks of a lilac get very thick, very woody, and very slow. They stop producing high-quality blooms. To force an explosion of youth and energy, you have to be brave. Take a small handsaw or a pair of large loppers. Look at the base of the plant and identify the oldest, thickest trunks. In early spring, you're going to completely cut down 1/3 of those old, thick trunks right to the ground. Yes, you are removing a large chunk of the plant. It feels wrong, but it is exactly what the plant needs. By removing this old, unproductive wood, you signal the roots to send up fresh, highly vigorous new shoots. These new shoots will grow incredibly fast and will become your champion bloomers in the coming years. You repeat this process every year, taking out another 1/3 of the old wood. Over 3 years, you completely rebuild a brand new, highly productive plant, capable of carrying 80 massive flowers. There is one lingering mistake from last year that can ruin your bloom this spring. Did you forget to trim your bush last summer? After a lilac finishes blooming, the old, dead flowers dry up and turn into hard little brown seed pods. If you left those pods on the bush all winter, you have a problem. The plant is still wasting a tiny bit of energy maintaining those stems, and more importantly, the presence of those old pods can sometimes suppress the formation of new buds nearby. While the absolute best time to remove these was immediately after they finished blooming last year, if you still see ugly brown clusters hanging on your branches this spring, you need to carefully snip them off right now. Be extremely careful. The new, fat, green flower buds for this year are located just underneath the old brown pods. You want to snip off the dead brown part without accidentally cutting off the new green bud. Removing last year's trash clears the stage and ensures all the plant's resources are pointed firmly at the future. Let us talk about the neighbourhood right around your lilac's roots. Companion planting is popular, but it can be dangerous. Many people love to plant cute little flowers, heavy ground covers, or thick lawn grass right up to the trunk of their bush. This is a competition you do not want to start. The roots of your lilac are greedy. They want all the water and all the phosphorus for themselves to make those 80 blooms. If you plant thick, hungry grass or aggressive perennial flowers right on top of their root zone, those smaller plants will steal the nutrients before they ever reach the lilac. Grass roots are incredibly dense and form a thick mat that blocks water from soaking down deep. The secret to massive blooms is keeping the area under the drip line completely clear of competition. Let the lilac be the undisputed king of that patch of soil. Use that donut ring of mulch we talked about to keep the area clear. Giving the roots a stress-free, competition-free environment allows them to perform at their absolute maximum potential. Once you have done all these steps, the hardest part begins, the waiting game. But because you have applied these secrets, the wait will be exciting. You will step out into your garden every few days and watch the transformation. You will notice those fat buds swelling faster than ever before. You will see the healthy, vibrant green of the new leaves pushing out, completely free of disease thanks to your careful pruning. And then the magic happens. The panicles will start to stretch out, getting longer and heavier than you have ever seen. You will start counting 10, 20, 40, and finally 80 incredible clusters of purple and white. The scent will be so strong, you will smell it from down the street. The branches might even bend slightly under the sheer weight of the flowers. This is the reward for not being a lazy gardener. This is the payoff for understanding the timing, the soil chemistry, and the physical needs of the plant. You have successfully hacked nature and turned a plain green bush into the absolute centerpiece of the spring neighborhood. And just like that, you hold the power to completely transform your spring garden by stepping in early, ditching the deadly nitrogen, delivering that crucial phosphorus, and performing smart sanitary pruning. You have signaled your plant to go into absolute overdrive. The days of walking past a boring leafy bush with a few sad flowers are over. When those 80 massive heavy panicles burst open and that incredible sweet scent fills your entire yard, you will know exactly why these steps were worth it. You have turned an ordinary plant into a true spring masterpiece. Thank you so much for watching and learning these secrets with us today. If you found these tips helpful, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and join our gardening community. Now I have a question for you. Do you prefer the classic deep purple lilacs, the pure white ones, or those amazing dual-toned varieties? Let me know your absolute favourite in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.